Hello, hello. Hello, everybody. Here is your chattering magpie. Oh my goodness, you guys, we're getting closer and closer to Christmas, the holiday season, and I know a lot of you are busy doing all kinds of amazing, fun family stuff, or probably you're just, one of those overworked people who are, having to get in extra hours at work. So, whatever the case, I hope you are surviving the holidays, one, and two, I am so thankful that you have joined us here today. I know you could be doing all sorts of other things, but you decided to, hey, I'm gonna watch this read along live with the gang, or you're gonna watch the replay, which is totally okay. I hope that it provides a little bit of fun. I hope so anyway. But anyway, today we're going to be reading, you guys, Dolores POVs. And I know everybody's like, why do we want to get into Dolores's head? I know, she's not a very nice person, you guys. But personally, I like her. Like, I liked writing her. She is temperamental, and I don't know, it reminds me of a certain someone I knew. I knew. So I don't know, just kind of probably that's why I like her. So, she has issues. We're gonna get to the bottom of some of her issues. Like I always complain about, people trying to make baddies in media be sympathetic to like the viewers, or no, viewers feel sympathetic over the baddies. I usually don't care for backstories, but you know what? Rules are meant to be broken. So I decided to do not just one, not just two, but 3 entire chapters of Dolores' backstory. Yay.
Yay.
All right, but today we're only going to be doing 2 chapters. I think they're fairly longish, medium size, so it's not going to be super long. And then we'll finish out on Wednesday the final Dolores chapter and return to the main story with Myne and Eckhart and the situation that they're going through. But before we go into that, first of all, I want to say hello to the early gang on YouTube. Yukihime dropped in and said, "Yo, what's up?" And happy to see you here, Yukihime.
Yay.
And of course, happy to see you also Blockshot, who is also part of the Europe gang. Europe gang, where are you at? Says, I would say I'm here for Dolores' backstory, but I'm not really here. I'm just a have fun message because Blockshot needs 6 hours of sleep. Aw. Well, thank you so much for saying hello, Blockshot. We really like to see you here in the chat. Maybe some other time you can join us. But anyway, enjoy the rewatch and enjoy your rest. Blessings from Schlaftraum to you. Sweet dreams. Also, Harumi
Sleep.
said...
I just said sleep well.
Patrick wishes you sweet dreams too. Alright. Also, Harumi says, so, Hartmut x Myne are not going to work. Maybe Hartmut x Dolores then. So, yeah, let's go back to it. Let me just finish saying hello to the people. Yukihime says, yes, this is not the world for Hartmut and Myne. Hopefully Dolores does some growing. So we don't know yet exactly if it's a Hartmut x Dolores. So again, this girl is, hot-blooded, impulsive, temperamental. We don't know if she has like true feelings for Hartmut like that, or if she's just being like, no, like being possessive. Who knows? We're gonna see. Now Fergie is also here. Oh, okay. Hey.
I definitely say Hartmut should not be with Dolores. It should be Cornelius, because Cornelius in this weave is definitely very toxic. As much as I hate that word.
Yes.
So you want Dolores to be with him?
They both deserve each other kind of deal? Is that what you're saying, Patrick?
Yes.
And you're calling me a Dolores hater.
And so
I never said anything bad about it.
So how about Hartmut? Is Hartmut not toxic enough in this weeb? Has he sort of
No.
redeemed himself in your eyes?
He is working towards redemption. Yes.
Okay, I'm glad you guys get that takeaway. I worked hard to get him to kind of like,
I want
turn
Clarissa. Somehow I want Clarissa to come and be his zealot wife again.
Can't promise much, but we'll see.
Yeah, he's already done with the academy, so not really a big chance.
I think they both would have been done, right? She was 1 year younger than him, Clarissa. So
so Myne is 1 year older than Myne.
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole, had to change her age when she became a noble. So that would be kind of interesting.
Yeah. So another thing that you guys have to realize is Feline and Roderick, they're not Myne's age. They are 2 years. They're a year younger than Myne. So at this point, they are in their 5th year of the academy. They're not yet graduating this year. They're graduating next year. Okay? Yeah. So just saying. I think there was a little bit of confusion somewhere in there. So if Myne had attended the academy, this winter would be her last year in the academy. Yes.
Yes. Because she became 15 in the summer, in this summer. So now it's in winter, and she should have graduated at 15 and a half.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So it's pretty crazy how one has to keep tracks of ages and stuff like that. But hey, that's the fun of Bookworm and keeping everything, all the threads kind of making sense. At this point, though, like, I've lost count. I don't even know how old Dolores is. She's like somewhere between. I read a timeline, you guys, and I lost it. I lost my timeline. I should have taken a picture of my timeline, but I literally like did a timeline that had Cornelius, Dolores, Hartmut, Myne, Rosamine, Angelica, everybody lined up and like saying like, okay, at this year. So I don't know. I lost it. But Dolores is definitely she's still pretty young, like 4th at most, 4th year. So, but she's tall. She's very tall. She had a terrible growth spurt at some point. So she's super
and she's
tall.
a knight.
And she's a knight too. All right. So let's see. So Fergie, I was cut off mid-sentence saying hello to you. Says I'm making dinner right now, which is, good for you. Eat your dinner, enjoy it. We will just, hopefully you can join us for the next one. And you enjoy listening to us if you want. But we'll miss you, buddy. Also, let's see. Tio says, I'm punless and late, gang, because I'm a little under the weather and woke up 10 minutes ago. Oh, poor Tio. So, Tio also, get well wishes. Your throat is feeling a little funny from what you told us. So, she will not be reading Dolores today. She will be taking on a smaller role. But, so happy that you're here. And take it easy. If you fall asleep halfway through, just, you know what? It'll be okay.
I'll let you know if I fall asleep.
Yeah, like you guys, I'm sleeping. Yukihime, take over. Yeah, you have your understudy. Your understudy is ready. All right. Okay. So you guys, so happy to see everybody here. People on YouTube, people here on the Nest. Today, reading we have Dolores will be read by Hirami. Ottilie will be read by Yukihime. Gerald will be read by Patrick. Delphina will be read by Teal. Lebrecht will be read by Magpie. What color is Lebrecht? Well. Hartmut will be read by Patrick, and Cornelius will be read by Teal. We have some original characters, so if you don't know who Gerald and Delphina are, don't worry. It'll be explained soon enough. And also highlighting were Hirami and Teal. So thank you guys for doing the work of highlighting. It is very important and crucial to these read-alongs. So you guys are amazing. Applause.
Yay!
Yeah.
Let us then get started, you guys, with chapter What chapter is it? What chapter reading? We're gonna start with yes, thank you. Chapter 76. So again, we are picking up right after Hartmut's interlude, which this is around the time after the chapter titled Spectacle, right after Myne displayed her amazing power at the lady salon. When she reopened the salon, she gave a blessing. Anybody saw her have like this huge blessing. Hartmut became absolutely enthralled. That night, he told his family, "I am going to quit Lady Charlotte's. I am going to find my way into Lady Myne's." Dolores threw a fit, and they had an altercation.
Because of course she did.
Because that's what she does, right? And she ended up with, saying like, "If you are in love with her, I'm going to go and kill her because you're mine." And then she ended up, planting a kiss on his poor unsuspecting lips. I wanted to kind of like be like, yeah, in every week he's going to be, force kissed by somebody. So that's kind of why I also did it. I just forgot to tell you guys, but he couldn't have a Clarissa Cabadon moment, but he's having a Dolores one. So we try to compromise as much as we can. All right. So I think that caught us up. Hartmut's last words were, "What the hell?" Because, of course, he never thought of Dolores in that way. And he never thought Dolores would think of him that way. And he doesn't know. Like, there's confusion. And we'll see what is Dolores thinking about now. All right. Ready? Let's do this. Chapter 76. Interlude. Her Sphere's Promise. Part 1. Dolores POV. Summary. Part 1 of Dolores' interlude. What in the world was she thinking when she kissed Hartmut? Maybe her backstory can help explain her most recent actions. Dolores sprinted down the corridor, her heart pounding in her chest and her hand pressed against her lips. She passed startled attendants and shook off her mother's outstretched hand as Arlie called out to her, concerned. Dolores made it a point to be courteous and polite to the woman that had shown her nothing but kindness since welcoming her into her house. But in this instance, she needed to be alone before she did something even more rash than what she'd just done. Hastening upstairs, she shut herself in her room as if attempting to shield herself from the inner turmoil. Leaning against the door, she slid to the floor and wiped her lips with the back of her hand. The shock of the recent event left her feeling hot and cold all over.
What have I done? Stupid, so stupid.
Dolores was startled by a knock at her door.
Dolores? Is anything the matter? Please answer me.
Dolores scrambled away from the door, stumbling over things as she did so, before she was finally safe in the privacy of her hidden room. But even then, the faint blue light signaling that someone on the other side wanted to communicate with her tormented her until at last the light stopped shining, signaling that Arlie had given up trying to get through and had retreated back downstairs to the family parlor where, no doubt, they would all continue on as if nothing had happened. After dinner, tea would be served. Father would sit at the desk, engrossed in some book or documents, and Mother would sit by the fireside embroidering. Meanwhile, Hartmut would... Dolores started to weep at the thought that Hartmut would probably have left by now, shocked, bewildered, and perhaps even disgusted at her actions. If none of that had happened, though, if she had kept her emotions under control and not given in to some insane impulse, he would have stayed and joined them for a little bit longer. He would have sat next to her, teased her about her drawing or her Hartspiel playing, before tutoring her under the watchful but benign eye of the woman who had taken Dolores in and treated her no differently than any of her other children. And yet, today, Dolores had acted in a reprehensible way, succumbing to her nasty temper as she always did whenever fear and insecurity took hold of her. This was a trait she had carried since childhood. Tiny and bedecked in ribbons, Dolores wore a fierce expression as she scowled up at the two boys who had callously knocked her to the ground. One of them was pulling her by one of her pigtails, while the other, her older brother, tore apart her most cherished possession with gleeful cruelty. A soft-cover book that her father had recently gifted her.
Stop it, Jared! Just stop! Father gave it to me!
Dolores snarled ineffectively, much in the way a Zenzi kitten would against a larger opponent.
Shut up, you tiny maggot.
Her brother sneered, while his friend pulled her hair even harder, causing her to fall back on her behind.
I am father's heir, so whatever he gives you is mine, to do with as I please.
Dolores clenched her teeth, unable to argue back. It was an undeniable truth. As a child of a second wife, father rarely visited her and her mother, let alone brought gifts. However, just the other day he surprised them with a soft-cover book and some cards to help her learn her letters. Books were expensive, Mother had said, so she probably shouldn't have taken it to the garden. But still... Anger boiled within Dolores as she watched the torn pages fluttering away in the wind. She tried to pull against the boys yanking her hair, attempting to rise and chase the pages now scattered beyond her mother's garden. Yet her efforts were in vain, and her brother simply cackled at her misfortune.
Remember, a lady never acts recklessly or rudely. Bear it and wait for the right time to strike. Sooner or later, your time will come.
Mother's lessons always rang in her head. Mother was so good and wise and strong. But even at such a young age, Dolores, with her dark curls and fiery red eyes mirroring her mother's, understood that she couldn't and wouldn't ever be able to be like her mother and patiently endure such mistreatment. No, sir. Dolores wanted to cry for help, but no one was around to help her. And even if the servants did hear her, she knew by now that they would never, ever strike against the son of her father's first wife. She was all alone. And so, tiny as she was, she foolishly fought back against her tormentors and received several blows to the face and kicks to the stomach for her trouble. When they finally left her, scratched and covered in tears after they had called her mother a Veronican slut, Dolores rose from her chubby, muddy knees, glaring after them with a deep-seated hatred. Cursing them with every ounce of her being, she vowed to exact revenge. She then scoured the garden to gather all the pages from the book her brother had ruined. She even climbed over a fence that divided the property to get those that had blown into the other side, until at last she had them all. But it was not the same, and as she clutched the remnants of her ruined book, the one precious gift from her father, Dolores began to weep. It wasn't fair! It wasn't fair!
A noble must be in absolute control of their emotions. Remember, passionate displays of emotion are not just unsightly, but can be potentially dangerous.
Forgoing yet another of her mother's lessons, and overwhelmed by her surging mana, Dolores succumbed to the tempest within. Unable to regain control, she collapsed in the garden, unconscious for hours, until her mother's attendant discovered her and carried her exhausted, limp form back upstairs.
Mother, I want to say it again.
Dolores said during bedtime.
Can you show it to me again and tell me the story?
Delphina, that was Mother's name, sighed resignedly and got out of bed to search for the item that Dolores requested to see. Mother had heard the story of what had transpired in the garden, down to how Dolores had snapped and fought back. Yet she hadn't been angry. In fact, her eyes had been sorrowful, and for a second, Dolores thought she saw tears glistening in them. However, when Dolores looked again, Such a vulnerable emotion was wiped from her mother's eyes. Instead, she suggested that the two of them sleep in the same bed the way they had years back, when Dolores had been smaller. Warm and secure in her mother's love, Dolores had almost fallen asleep, but she'd been seized with a desperate need to see the Hersphere face stone, the most precious of her mother's belongings. Mother pressed the face stone into Dolores' small hand.
This is the stone that makes your wishes come true. Dedicate your mana to it. Pray for the person you want to love and want you back, and see your wishes come to pass.
Did you wish for father to love you with it?
Delphina's eyes took on a distant look, as if she were recalling the circumstances that led to her union with Dolores' father.
Yes,
She said after a pause.
I got exactly what I wanted, and now I'm blessed with you. But power like this must be handled responsibly. Sometimes getting what you want is actually a curse. So until the day you grow up and find a good, brave, strong man, I will keep this safe for you.
Dolores marveled at the stone and how the light danced off and through it. The tales spun by her attendant and mother about ladies and knights always fueled her dreams of a future where she could marry someone good, noble, and righteous, a man who would defend and fight for her.
Her sphere.
The seed of a plant that only grows in a duchy far to the north, where my mother was born.
Klassenberg.
Dolores replied, her eyes heavy with sleep, as she handed the precious face stone back.
Correct.
Mother affirmed, pressing a tender kiss on Dolores' temple.
Good night, my little one. May Schlaftraum bless you with sweet dreams, and Verdraus extend his cape over you.
Not long after came the day when Mother was taken away, and Dolores was bundled off to a strange house with nary an explanation as to where Mother had gone and why Dolores was so suddenly uprooted to become the daughter of one of her father's distant cousins. Shaken, scared, and uncertain about her future, Dolores was introduced to her new family and left to face her life going forward, without Mother's love, without her stories, without her warmth or hugs. The thought threatened to bring her to tears, but she recalled her mother's lessons for once, straightened her spine to stand at her full height, and gazed unflinchingly into the faces of her new family, her new father, mother, and two older brothers. They were not unkind to her, but in retrospect, Dolores could see that they were as perplexed about what to do with her as she was about her own presence there. They provided her with absolutely everything she needed, even tutors and attendants, as well as a spacious and well-appointed suite on the girls' floor. It proved fortunate that she was alone on that floor, as her nights for the first few weeks were spent crying and calling out for her mother. There was a silver lining to it all. She had older brothers, but they seemed indifferent to her, or at least they refrained from bullying or tormenting her. There was a third brother, the youngest, called Hartmut, but he was a third year in the Royal Academy and was therefore away. She had hoped Hartmut would be like her older brothers, leaving her alone. However, when she looked into his eyes, she saw them twinkle maliciously, and corners of his lips curved in a smile that suggested that far from looking at her with indifference, he viewed her like a wolfenile pup eyes a new toy, which it will soon destroy. Inwardly terrified, she nevertheless suppressed the emotion and met his gaze with a glare. Her hands trembled, yet they remained clenched in determined resolve not to back down. Something about her resolve made him suddenly throw back his head in laughter, and when he ceased laughing, he crouched to her eye level, placed his hand on top of her head, and asked if she wanted to go outside and play. Dolores flinched slightly. Remember her previous older brother and his idea of playing. But before she could say anything else, Ottilie, her new mother, spoke up.
What a lovely idea! Now that the sun is out, we should all take a walk and see what plants are coming up.
And so they did. And thus life with her new family truly began. By the way, for reference, well, this is Tiny Dolores from, I don't know, I forget the web novel.
She looks cute and fierce all at the same time.
Yeah, she's cute and fierce.
I feel sorry for her for losing her mother, just like that in the middle of the night and being trusted on another family and all. For
Yes.
her.
Yeah, she was a casualty of the purge that happened during Veronica's time that dethroned Veronica. Questions?
Yes.
So from this chapter seems that Dolores could have been a bookworm. I don't know if she still is or not, but if Myne had learned that little detail, I'm wondering how much she would have tried to endear herself to Dolores.
Yeah. Sadly, though, stuff happened. So it just kind of makes you think of the what if, the would have, you know. But yeah. Also, I have a correction. I forgot to go back to correct this. But Leberecht is actually related, not a distant cousin of Count Lazygang. It's actually a very close relative. I think it's one of the youngest kids of Count Lazygang. Yeah. So, because I put here that Dolores is supposed to be Count Lazygang's daughter from a second wife, a Veronican. But of course, because of the purge in this story, the purge happened at a different time. The mother was caught up in it.
To think a Leesgang would take a Veronican as his wife, a scandal.
Scandal. Well, we now know that there was some kind of suspicious thing happening there. Her mother talked about a certain Hersphere face stone. Who knows what it does? I don't know. Anyway.
Also, hey Crusher.
Crusher, where are you? Crusher says, greetings from my job's break room. Tiny Dolores looks kawaii, doesn't it? Yeah, isn't she the cutest? And yes, thank you, Hirami. Yeah, the name of the manga is The Male Lead's Little Lion Daughter. Yeah, so her name is Leonia. Really cute manga. It's, yeah, so I really like her design, and when I wrote these chapters, I had her in my head, so just instead of gold eyes, she's supposed to have red, like ruby red eyes, but otherwise it's Leonia. All right.
I have a question without like spoiling. Did you think up that stone, like every single meaning of that stone that continually passes between? I don't remember the name. Yeah, did you have that in mind from the beginning of the story when you started writing?
I knew I was gonna play something important, but as there's some stuff you don't know yet about it, but I knew I was gonna do something important, so yes. But it helped also, like, as I wrote, like, more details came, so I keep it vague for a reason. I keep it vague for a reason because all the details were not there yet.
Yeah, okay. I was just curious if it was from the beginning.
Yeah, from the beginning it was supposed to be important, but since I didn't really quite know yet how to describe the magicry of it, I just kept everything really vague. But
yeah, I understand. Yeah. Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm good. Not many details. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, okay, Crusher, thank you for dropping in. I hope you enjoyed and watch the replay later. Have a good day at work. All right. Anything else?
One thing that I wanted to say is, I wonder if Ottilie spoiled her new daughter and was too lenient after this. Like, I feel like Ottilie is very good-hearted and like a very good mother. So, like, I wonder if she like spoiled her, and
We'll
that's
see.
why she is like a little bit spoiled.
Maybe. So Dolores herself, she ever since she got there, she's not been a brat. She really has tried to like respect her mother. Like even from right at the beginning, she's like, since the moment she got to that house, she's always respected the woman who took her in. So Dolores isn't a bad kid. She knows that she has some things that are due to her adoptive parents. But we'll see. We'll see about Dolores. And Artily. And actually, the next chapter talks a little bit about, Dolores from Artely's point of view. So I hope you enjoy it and it hopefully helps answer some questions. All right. So it says chapters.
In the mind of a killer.
She's not a killer. She's just a really good knight. All right, let's do this, you guys. All right, she did threaten to strangle Myne. Okay, fine. Fair enough.
Potential killer.
Potential. Hey. Innocent until proven guilty, and she hasn't done anything yet, so okay. Let's do this. Chapter 77, Interlude. Her Sphere's Promise to Point of View, Artely and Dolores. Summary. The Hersphere face stone and house instrumental in tearing Leonor and Cornelius apart. Artely, much like her friend Elvira, had secretly yearned for a daughter. However, much like her best friend, fate granted Artely 3 boys instead. While both women lamented the absence of a precious little girl, their shared longing took divergent paths. Elvira found some solace in the company of her granddaughter, and her trio of boys, though rowdy, were devoted and warm toward her. In stark contrast, Artely's sons inherited the reserved, cool, and cunning nature of her scholar husband. She loved them deeply and would never trade them for anything, but her maternal instincts were constantly thwarted, and she had to restrain herself from indulging in motherly affections. And so, Artely lived her days hoping that her sons would soon bless her with grandchildren, never knowing that her home life was about to change dramatically. Amidst the turmoil of the purge, Dolores' father corresponded with Lebrecht and offered his child for adoption. In exchange, a substantial fortune in face stones, gems, jewelry, and other valuable property, once the possession of Dolores' mother, was negotiated, and Lebrecht agreed to take the girl into his household in exchange for the goods and other advantageous terms. When Lebrecht disclosed this news to Artely, she was initially taken aback, finding herself shocked by the unexpected revelation. Nevertheless, she had no alternative but to acquiesce to the arrangement and agree to raise the girl without even having laid eyes on her. "Your understanding in this matter is greatly appreciated," Lebrecht smiled, expressing his gratitude. "I acknowledge that her background is less than ideal. Nevertheless, her ties to Count Lesegang will undoubtedly prove beneficial in the long run."
Her mother was caught up in the executions, though.
Artely murmured, voicing her doubt. "Indeed she was," Lebrecht responded solemnly, acknowledging the gravity of the situation. "However, toward the end she turned against Lady Veronica, offering the conclusive piece of evidence that led to her ultimate downfall. Regrettably, Delphina was already implicated in certain crimes and faced execution regardless. Still, concerned for her child's welfare, she sought assurance that her daughter's fate would not be entrusted to Count Lesegang's first wife. In exchange for her cooperation, she implored him to send their child elsewhere, ensuring her safety. Ferdinand himself may have been eager to spare his child. He sounds fond of her. Arlie took the letters her husband handed to her and quickly scanned their contents.
I see. So Delphina wasn't as bad as the others.
Arlie reflected as she returned the letters. She attempted to summon memories of the woman whose child she'd be raising. However, her recollections were scant, as the age disparity between them had precluded any shared attendance at the Royal Academy. Arlie was more acquainted with Count Lazagang's first wife, an embittered woman of notable vindictiveness, who had often spoken ill of her husband's second wife. Considering this, Arlie concurred that placing the girl under someone else's guardianship was a prudent decision. Arlie could only hope that bringing her into her home would be a blessing and not an invitation for Chaosifer to wreak havoc in her life and home. Dolores came to her at dawn, unexpectedly early, and already demanding in her own way to be taken notice of and to be let in. Arlie, responding to the summons, rushed down the stairs to greet the newest member of her household. When she looked into the crimson eyes of her new daughter, she saw a tiny little girl with a riot of inky black curls and a fiercely determined look in her eyes. Yet as Arlie scrutinized her closer, she noticed the subtle quivering of the girl's lower lip and the clenching of her tiny fists until her knuckles turned white. Arlie's heart ached for the child before her, abandoned by her father and thrust into a new household among strangers. Dolores was certainly most afraid, even terrified. Nevertheless, the young girl approached her new family and offered her greetings without hesitation, showcasing the impeccable training and education befitting an archnoble's child. The courage displayed by this small child left Arlie in awe. She couldn't help but think that, in her place, she would have dissolved into tears. In fact, in that moment, Arlie realized that she had been suppressing a torrent of maternal instincts for years because she decided, deep in her heart, to love the girl as her own, and for all the days to come she would look back on that day with fondness. For on that silvery day, she received what she had yearned for the most, a darling little girl of her own, a daughter to cherish and adore. With Dolores' arrival, her home felt complete. When Lebrecht entrusted Arlie with the care and cataloging of the items that had accompanied Dolores, subtly implying that they were hers to do with as she pleased, Arlie made an important decision. Instead of claiming the gems, face stones, and other items for her own use as payment for taking the girl, she chose to preserve them for Dolores, utilizing them solely for her upbringing as her own mother would have intended. Arlie carefully placed Delphina's face stone in a small box, silently pledging to watch over her child and expressing gratitude for the twist of fate that brought Dolores into their lives. As for the other face stones, among them a large flaming red gem that eluded recognition, she meticulously catalogued them, safely stored them on a special shelf in their storage room, as they awaited the day when Dolores would inherit them upon coming of age or until she had a need of them at school. And when Dolores eventually requested the red face stone as a memento of her birth mother, Arlie, unable to deny her, reluctantly agreed. Little did she anticipate the consequences this seemingly innocuous decision would bring about.
Big Brother Cornelius!
Dolores launched herself at Hartmut's best friend with enthusiastic abandon. Despite her small size, she moved so swiftly that the older boy almost toppled to the ground.
Easy there, Dolly.
Cornelius chuckled, ruffling her curls affectionately.
Hey, aren't you gonna welcome me?
Hartmut asked, a slight frown on his face. Peeking out from behind Cornelius's sleeve, Dolores stuck out her tongue at her older brother.
No, you're terrible. I wish you would have stayed back at the Royal Academy.
So I get no welcome, and you always cling to Cornelius.
Hartmut mused, hand on his chin.
Does that mean you like him more than me?
Cornelius laughed.
Your little sister clearly has good taste.
That's right.
Dolores laughed and looked up at him, wrapping her arms around Cornelius's waist.
And when I grow up, I'm gonna marry you.
It wasn't the first time she ever said something like that, and Cornelius always humored her and said that, yes, of course he would marry her because she was his favorite sparring partner and the most beautiful girl in the world, and so on. But upon his return from the Royal Academy after his 5th year, he faltered, and upon hearing her innocent assertion that they would marry one day, he nervously glanced away with an embarrassed chuckle. Hartmut, on the other hand, laughed loudly and mockingly.
What?
Dolores said, glaring up at him with her tiny arms still around Cornelius.
What's so funny?
I know you've been saying that for years, but Cornelius is.
Hartmut,
Cornelius interjected sternly, attempting to silence his friend.
don't.
Oh?
Hartmut said, smiling evilly and raising an eyebrow.
What do you want her to keep hoping for the impossible? How long will you keep up this game? She's old enough. She ought to know.
She's only a child. Soon enough, she'll.
I'm not a child.
Dolores said, angry tears forming in her eyes. She hated being called a child.
I'm nearly 10. In fact, I will enter the academy this winter. I'll be able to go with you to the academy and train with you. It will be amazing.
Oh, come on.
Hartmut said impatiently.
Just drop it, will you, Dolores? It's been years and the joke is starting to go old.
It's not a joke. I love him.
Dolores declared passionately. She did fervently love Cornelius, ever since the day when he'd come to her rescue. He was her steadfast protector, intervening whenever her older brother, Hartmut, grew too rough. Cornelius not only shielded her from him, but also imparted lessons on strength and combat, ensuring she was prepared to face her enemies. He even fought off said enemies for her sake as well. Her devotion was cemented, and she knew she would love him forever, the one time she had come face to face with her biological older brother, Gerard. Her biological older brother. Gerald had begun to torment her, but before he could strike Dolores, Cornelius had swooped in to rescue her. That had taken place during the autumn hunt, and only a few seasons after her adoption, and had resulted in a huge uproar. Politically, it had been terrible that Cornelius had blackened the eye of Count Lazagang's precious heir, but personally, it had meant the world to Dolores. She had vowed to love and marry a good and honorable man, a man that would come to her rescue. And was Cornelius such a man? She did not know anyone who was better for her than he. Ever since then, she had not hesitated to make her love for Cornelius public and well known.
So you say.
Hartmut sighed tiredly, closing his eyes and rubbing the bridge of his nose.
But are you sure he loves you? Moreover, do you even know what our families are planning for the future?
Hartmut,
Cornelius interjected, a hint of warning in his tone.
stop it. You're going to make her cry.
Hartmut looked at his friend and dropped any semblance of earlier playfulness. When he next spoke, it was in earnest, and he looked at his friend with a meaningful look.
She's gonna cry anyway, so it might as well be now and not further along when she hears of you and Lenore.
Leonore?
Dolores interjected, confused.
What about her? What are you saying?
The boys exchanged glances, and Cornelius, uncomfortable, looked away. Leonor, Dolores's beloved cousin and role model, embodied everything that she aspired to be: strong, intelligent, competent, admired, well-liked, and beautiful. It hadn't crossed Dolores's mind that her cherished cousin might shatter her dreams of future happiness.
Are you going to marry Leonor?
Dolores asked, cold dread seeping into her veins. Cornelius hesitated, and when he answered, he spoke haltingly.
Nothing is settled yet.
Feeling the world spin around her, Dolores loosened her grip on Cornelius, stepping back.
No,
She whispered, tears welling up.
no, you cannot.
Dolly.
Cornelius began, regret in his eyes.
Don't call me Dolly. You said you'd marry me. You said I was your favorite girl. You.
Dolores felt her eyes fill with tears. She was about to cry, but if she did, she was sure that she would be seen as a baby, and thus confirmed the notion that she was just a child. No, she needed to see this through, needed to make Cornelius understand the extent of her love, and her wrath too, at him being swayed by another woman. Summoning all her strength, Dolores let out a fierce cry as she attempted to strike Cornelius. However, he easily sidestepped her, and what's more, she slipped and tumbled to the ground. Of course, Leonor would most certainly have done better. Dolores reflected as she wallowed in her humiliation. Wasn't Leonor better than Dolores in every respect? Dolores's devotion and admiration for the girl changed to a deep antagonism.
I will not lose. I won't.
Suddenly, her mother's teachings came to her. It had been years since she'd heard Delphina's teachings in her mind, but now that Dolores needed her mother the most, they shone upon her consciousness.
Is this Delphina?
That's Delphina.
A man is helpless in the face of a woman's tears. Use that to your advantage when all else fails.
Dolores let the tears flow and began to weep pitifully. When a concerned Cornelius reached out to help her up, she smacked his hand away and cried out to her brother, extending her arms toward him. Hartmut's eyebrow twitched slightly, but like the good brother he was, he played along. He not only helped her up, but carried her in his arms and chastised his friend sternly before carrying her into the house.
Just so you know,
Hartmut whispered as they left a frowning Cornelius behind.
you'll have to do much better than fake crying to get your way.
You villain.
Dolores said, ceasing her crying.
You're supposed to be on my side.
Once they were out of sight, Hartmut gently set Dolores down. He looked her up and down to make sure she wasn't hurt from her earlier fall, and then sighed tiredly. When he spoke next, his voice took on a serious tone.
I am on your side, but I'm also a realist. You're asking for the near impossible. If your aim is Cornelius, you'll have to do more than give it your all. You'll have to fight a long and dirty fight. And you can't back out halfway. You won't come out unscathed either. Are you sure you're ready for it?
Dolores, determined and resolute, replied.
I won't lose. As long as I have you on my side, I can do it.
Surprise and a fleeting expression of happiness crossed Hartmut's face, but was quickly replaced by a more neutral expression.
Well then, if you want my help, you know what I want in return.
Pale but resolute, Dolores nodded after a moment's contemplation.
Very well. The day Cornelius proposed to me, I will give to you.
Hartmut chuckled, shaking his head.
No guarantees when it comes to that, dolt's heart. The fee is simply my retainer fee to help you. And before you complain, let me remind you that you'll need all the intelligence I can provide if you want to succeed. You're not good at disseminating rumors and starting a smear campaign since you lack the subtlety, connections, and intellect.
Dolores glowered up at her brother's condescending tone. However, faced with no other ally or alternative, she reluctantly agreed and parted ways with her most beloved possession. Thus began their peculiar game, as the Hersphere face stone changed hands for the first time. End of chapter. Notes? For those of you who are wondering about Leonore, next chapter, the conclusion of the interludes, will fill us in on what she's up to in this weeb. Thanks for reading and your comments. See you soon.
Yeah, I feel sorry for Dolores.
Oh, really? You feel sorry for her?
Yeah, I feel sorry for her. Both like the whole thing with her mother and her past, but also like I feel like I don't like when people do that thing with kids. Like, yeah, sure, I'll marry you, but like it's a joke. But like they keep it up for years. Like, what the fuck is that? I don't like it. Sorry.
I mean, they are kids.
We are.
Like, why are they keeping up? Yes, I'm gonna marry you, of course. Yeah, we're gonna do that. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like that's on them for like telling a kid that constantly.
Fair enough.
Well, I'm sure for a lot of people who do that, they think the kid's going to mature and fall in love with someone else. You know, it's puppy love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah.
I do feel sorry for Dolores for losing her mother, but she does still have a great family. Audley is doing her best.
She is.
Oh yeah, I love Audley. It's the best.
Yeah, so I tried to take some creative license when it comes to the family situation. I just wanted Audley. Like, I realized that, hey, both Audley and Elvira are good friends. They both had just 3 male sons. So I was like, hey, this is interesting. This is fun. So yeah, I just kind of played around with that a little bit. Sorry, Patrick. Go ahead.
I do feel bad for her past because it is very unfortunate that due to faction politics and her mother being implicated in whatever crimes, she had to be executed.
Mm-hmm.
But along the way, Dolores grew up and she made the choices that she made, which made the person that she became.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So what she thinks is her big character flaw, I don't know if you guys would agree with her, is she has she tends to let her temper get the best of her. Do you guys think that's just it, or is there something else that's wrong with Dolores? She knows that she's being impulsive and bad-tempered. Or maybe there's something else that we want to point her, like, fix yourself, kiddo.
Yeah, I mean, she is a kid. Like, I feel like some amount of like stupid choices, stupid decisions, and kind of like not. Just not really thinking things through and not realizing the consequences is like normal for a kid that isn't even going to the academy yet. Like, it's a 9-year-old or something, so a 10-year-old.
Yeah. Now the thing though is like she has done like at this point of this, these are interludes. Yeah, she was a little kid, but now in the story she is already in the academy. She has done her things. Hasn't been very nice, but I mean, she does have to be held accountable for what she has done. She
is ill-tempered and she's also learned from Hartmut to be. She's learned to be a schemer, and
Yep.
for good or ill, she has taken a lot of his lessons to heart, and she can be very good at this. And I see it as a tool which can be used for both good and bad. Just because she's using this tool against Myne doesn't necessarily mean that she is bad herself. She's against Myne, so I don't like her.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but I agree with what you're saying, and also, yes, Hartmut isn't really a good influence, especially when he seems to be like, yeah, you can be bad, but you can be worse. Like, I can help you be worse. That's not good.
I like how he tells her like, yeah, you're gonna need my help because you don't have either subtlety, connections, or intellect. Like, yo, did you really have to add that? But when I was like
it's Hartmut. He's brutally honest.
yeah, he is. Like when I was writing it, I was like, no, don't say it. No, he said it. It has to go in there. So I just kind of hear like the voices and like the movie or thing in my head. So I have to write it. I'm like, yeah, Hartmut, you didn't have to be that mean, but yeah.
I can't wait for him to be depicted in the anime because
oh my gosh,
you know they're going to have to show him at Myne's or Rosemine's baptism.
Oh, that would be so fun. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
he might make a cameo episode 1.
I hope he does make a cameo. Yeah, it's such a pity that we don't get to see him at all during part 3, but man, I really want him to like show up and at least for Wit Studio to give us fans like just a little nod, a little just something, a little fan service in that respect would be very much appreciated.
At her baptism, like at her baptism, that's when I want to see him being in awe and being transformed into a devotee.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like the short story where he is patiently waiting in line to greet her. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna make a great impression and all these things, but then Wilfried tears her, like he's like, no, let's come play, and from then on Hartmut is like, Wilfried, I will always hate you. Like he hates him from that moment. He never forgives him for having done that to her. So that would be lovely to see.
Love that guy so much.
So there was something else I wanted to ask or point out, but anyway, probably I'll just remember on the next one, I guess. So this is where we end today's read along. It's 2 chapters. We'll finish off we'll finish off the point of view with the.
Oh!
What's up?
I forgot. I haven't done my usual thing this stream.
What?
Everybody, please like and subscribe. Follow your magpie. Join us for our discussions on her main channel, the Chattering Magpie, and you're always welcome here on the Chattering Magpie Reads. We love to read these stories with you and share our enjoyment for this amazing art of literature. So please continue to follow and support your magpie.
Thank you. Yes, do as Patrick says. Follow us as we continue reading this fanfic. Also, if I keep forgetting to point this out, I do have on social media, I have a Twitter, I have Blue Sky, so join me in either one of those if you're there, just for more updates on like sometimes I get sick and I have to postpone stuff, so yeah, do that. And also, if you want merch, there is still time to get your merch from Spring and the other places, so you can go and get something for yourself or your loved ones. Okay, I think that was a good enough plug. Thank you, Patrick, for reminding us. So yeah, next stream we will be finishing we'll be doing the last of the Dolores' interludes. I think you will enjoy it because we will get to see Leonor at last. And I don't want to spoil other stuff, but we'll get some information. Maybe if you're growing sympathetic with Dolores, maybe you will grow even more sympathetic with the next one. Who knows? Maybe. I don't know. But it doesn't seem promising that she has basically retained Hartmut's services to do whatever, and so she can get her man and steal him from Leonor. So who knows?
We love Leonor.
We do love Leonor.
We love Leonor. She's so cute and everything nice. So I don't want anything to happen to her, and I am scared because basically Hartmut is against her. So
yeah. And see,
my question before reading the next chapter was, but do we know if Leonor loves Cornelius without Rosamine?
What do you guys think? Without Rosamine, would Leonor have liked Cornelius? Just a question.
I also don't know that because in Karen, she admires how dedicated he is and how hardworking. But he is hardworking and everything, and a great knight because of Rosamine. So without her, I don't know how much Leonor would have liked him.
Yes, I agree with Yukihime, because these were virtues instilled in him by trying to get our favorite airhead to pass courses.
That is.
And also be a good brother for Rosamine.
So it's up in the air. Jury's still out. We don't know if Leonor would have actually liked him. But in my imagination, they were an item. That's why I said they were going to, he and Leonor were already an item at school, so that's why. Yeah. So that's my imagination.
Yeah.
It
could still happen. Just blame Liebes Kelf.
Yeah. There's only so many arch nobles from good families that are around. So I mean, at some point, their parents would have been like, "Hey, so how about we hitch our kids together, huh?" At some point, yeah.
It was either Leonor or Brunhild at that point.
Yeah. So
I definitely believe that what was the name? The Linkbergs and the and Lenore's family. Yeah, the Liesgangs.
Okay.
I do believe that those two families would try to maintain a strong tie, and at least for a political marriage, Cornelius and Lenore would be proposed.
Yeah. That's what I thought too. It would amount to a political marriage, and Cornelius was like, yeah, she's pretty. She's pretty. So
and that's such a shame too, because I love their pairing in canon.
Yeah, well, yeah. Blame Hartmut and blame Dolores, okay, for that.
I blame Cornelius for being a lazy piece of what.
Yeah, Cornelius definitely messed up in this weave. Man. Oh well, we'll see. Maybe he can be redeemed. Maybe. You have to find out though. You have to tune in the next time, for the next couple chapters, to see if there's hope for Cornelius.
So tune in next time on the Chattering Magpie Reads.
That's right. Thank you everybody for joining. To Hirami, who read Dolores, Yukihime, who read Ottilie, Patrick, who read Gerald, Teal, who read Delphina, me, who read Lebrecht, Patrick, who read Hartmut, and Teal, who read Cornelius. Remy and Teal, who highlighted these 2 chapters. You guys are superstars in my book. Thank you so much. And to you, gentle viewers, for joining us and commenting. I love it when you guys tell me your thoughts in the comments. So do leave your thoughts in there. If you want to continue to read the thing or you missed previous readings, find the links to the fanfic on AO3. It's on my description. All right, everybody.
And I will also be
Thank you for writing.
I will also be checking the comments as I listen to the full thing tomorrow.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So I'll see you guys later. See you on Wednesday. I think it'll be a Wednesday afternoon deal. So yeah, keep a lookout when it's scheduled. Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.